The gifts of the Magi are interesting, I think. They brought gold, frankincense, and myrrh. There must be a reason why these gifts and this number of gifts. Theologians believe that possibly numerous gifts were brought to Jesus at the time of or soon after his birth. There may have been gifts of food or clothing or even animals. But these three gifts, they stand out. It's like going to a party and everyone brings wine as a gift, except one. That person brings something special that others are in awe about and think, why didn't I think of that? That's what these three gifts of the Magi were, the perfect gifts, and also symbolic gifts. The gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh were mentioned in the book of Isaiah. In Isaiah chapter 60, verse 6, Isaiah says that when Jerusalem is restored, there would be nations and kings who would come and bring gold and frankincense and shall proclaim the praise of the Lord. So these items have a source, as does the New Testament, in the Old Testament, and foretold as by one of the great prophets. Beyond this, each gift has a special meaning, and each is given for a reason. Gold designates kingship and was only given to kings. Anyone who was around Jesus when these gifts were given would have been shocked to see gold be given to someone born to such low circumstances. There would not even be a thought of gold being given to someone any less than a king. The meaning was obvious to those who were knowledgeable of Scripture. The one of the three Magi that gave the gold knew of Jesus' heritage. After all, we consider these three men to possibly be kings themselves. Since kings were thought to have been divinely appointed, then this gift of gold would make sense and even be leading in its meaning. It has great value as tender as well. Today, the price of gold is a little over $1,300 an ounce. So we can see why it used to be the gift of kings. People have been known to hoard gold. Countries go to war to get gold. It's what King Midas valued so much to the detriment of his life. Gold is a precious metal that represents the shiniest of all, and only a fool can be tricked by gold that's not real, and we call that fool's gold. Now, we give this precious metal in the form of jewelry on special occasions, possibly following that tradition in sight of one of the Magi giving Jesus. Frankincense represents a priestly role. Frankincense is a kind of incense like that we use here in our celebrations of the Eucharist. The priest is generally the one who uses the incense to sanctify objects, such as the altar, the gifts that are brought to the altar, and even the people around the altar. So the incense is a sign of the priestly role of the person using that incense. Jesus receiving frankincense is a sign of the role he plays as priest to all people. And as we know, frankincense is still used today. It's taken as a resin from trees across Africa and Arabia. It has uses in aromatherapy, and it's even thought to have curative properties. So maybe it's not so much as given as a gift today, but it still is in use to please others. And myrrh. Myrrh represents suffering, the foreshadowing of what was to come for the child Jesus. The myrrh was a gift to tell us that Jesus would die as the ultimate gift for all of us. Today, cultivating of myrrh is similar to that of frankincense, but unlike its symbolism then, it's believed to have curative properties now in treating some cancers and some other less deadly conditions. It seems that Jesus had to suffer for our spiritual healing, and now the gift that represents his suffering or our spiritual healing is used in healing our bodies as well. There were many oils, minerals, and incenses used in the Middle East during Jesus' time, but only 3 made the trip to where Jesus was. This number also plays a significance in the story. 3 is the number of people in the Trinity, of which we know Jesus is part. There are 27 books in the New Testament, which is 3 times 3 times 3, or 27, which is 3 times. There are only 3 people in history allowed to ask God anything at all: Solomon, Ahaz, and Jesus. There are only 3 angels mentioned in the Bible: Michael, Gabriel, and Lucifer. And Revelations describes God in 3 ways: as being which is, which was, and which is to come. So we are still waiting. Even though Advent is over, we are still waiting for Jesus to come again. Thinking about these gifts, whether it be the ones the Magi brought or the ones God has granted to us through his Son, we should take consolation in the stability of it all. The gifts the Magi brought have had their meaning or use changed through the years, but what God has given us has remained unchanged. The reminder of the importance of our biblical stories are sometimes in the numbers. It's all how deep we commit ourselves to the faith. If God has given us timeless, unchanging gifts, we too should be able, with conviction, to make the gift of our life to him.